Hello everybody and welcome to this new YouTube video. My name is Dominic from the Dodo Cosplay and today I can finally show you the actual finished belt piece of our Kratos cosplay. Yes, I know it was long. It was long until the next video and the costume itself took as well more time to actually build than I thought. I thought it's all the time the same texture, so everything is going to be very quick, very easy. Spoiler, no, it wasn't. But you're going to see a lot of stuff, how I made everything. And I'm just so happy that the whole crafting process is now finished for this piece, that the video is out, and I can't wait to hear what you think of it. And of course, it wouldn't be a real YouTube video if I wouldn't do a bit. Absolutely sexy self-advertisement. So if you're new here, this is my book. I made a book about texture making and one or two of these textures are going to be as well in this video, so be tuned. And if you want to know more about texture making and costume making, then buy this book and have as well a look at my web shop where I sell patterns as well. If you don't already know, I already made two parts of this costume, so you can click either here or there. I'm not sure which side is now the icon showing, so. And with that, have fun watching this third Kratos crafting video. We start with the leather skirt panel. First, I cut a template out of newspaper to get the right shape. Take your time with the template. If you get this part right instantly, you'll have the perfect size and shape from the start. Once I'm happy with it, I trace and cut the template onto 2 layers of 5mm EVA foam, low density. That's also why I need to glue the 2 layers together here. It's actually easier if you use 10mm foam right away. It saves you time and you don't need to glue extra layers together. Here, I'm cutting 10mm low-density EVA foam to create the rounded edge on the leather panels. You can actually buy pre-rounded foam stripes, but they are more expensive. Now, the foam stripes are glued onto the panels. At this point, I want to give a huge thank you to Cosplay Shop for sponsoring a big part of the materials like the foam and the glue. Now it's time for sanding. Always wear your safety glasses and a respirator mask so you don't breathe in any particles. I've unfortunately learned the hard way that skipping protection really puts your health at risk, even if it's just for a few minutes. Never sand without a mask. Trust me. Alright, now we get to my favorite part, creating texture. Since we're not using real leather, we have to get creative to achieve the right look. First, I use a stone to create the leathery skin-like surface. It takes a bit of time though, but it's just super fun doing it. After that, I use different sanding tool heads to give the surface its final touch. A few more dents here and some scratches there. By the way, setting your Dremel to a lower speed gives you better control over the tool and prevents the scratches from becoming too deep. And just like that, we have our finished leather texture. And yes, we have to do this 4 times now. Now, we are going to add some colors to our surface. If you've seen my first 2 videos on Kratos, you already know how this goes. If not, some little explanation. We always start this texture with a brown base color, applied in 2 or 3 layers. Next, we work with shading and lighter colors to add more depth to the texture. This part will always give your cosplay a realistic look, as the painting technique helps hide many imperfections and brings the project to life. Next, we take our rivets again and push them through the EVA foam. This cosplay really has a ton of rivets, and that's exactly what gives the armor its realistic touch. I'm going this now for both the front and back sides of the leather flaps. We need now patience and endurance, because here we'll be weaving a thick faux leather cord along the edge of the foam. For this, I use a larger needle so it can go through the foam easily. This part actually took me several hours to finish. Two of the leather flaps are decorated with light colored cords, while the two side ones use a red cord. And since this part takes quite a bit of time, just sit back, relax and enjoy watching the process. Since the cord looks a bit too clean, we are going to give it a dirty, worn look using some diluted acrylic paint. For this, I use a brush and sometimes I even spread the paint with my finger. As before, enjoy watching the process. As the last step here, we make two holes on each side of the armor. That's where we thread the flat straps to connect all four pieces together. And don't forget to put your mask back on here, because of the toxic fumes. And here we have the first part of the massive belt finished. Cool! Now let's move on to the white leather belt. You'll see that from here on, most of the steps will repeat. I'll skip the part where I cut and sanded the belt, since I think you already know how that works by now. Using stones to create a leather texture, brown acrylic paint for the base coat, followed by shading, and finally weaving the cord along the edges, just like we did before the 4 leather flaps. That's really all I have to say about this part. Enjoy the show! Okay, now we are making those long leather flaps. Just like before, we create a template, then trace the front and back piece into 4mm EVA foam and cut them out. Alright, now we are using 2mm EVA foam. Here we are cutting the edge strips that will go around the leather flap. It actually took me a while to figure out the right technique for this. After that, we use super glue to attach the 2mm foam strips, first on the inside edge, then wrapping them to the outside. We use the leftover foam to cut out and glue on the shapes you can see here in the video. We are moving on to the steps you already know. Let's say them all together. First, stones for the leather texture, then sanding, then the paint job with brown base color and highlights, and finally adding rivets. As before, have fun watching the process. Let's move on to one of the upper belts. This time, I'll spare you the whole crafting process. I think you are pros now and you know inside out how it's going. Instead, let's jump straight to the details. I created blueprints for all the parts and had them cut out with my laser cutter. Seriously guys, I couldn't live without this machine anymore. It's such a game changer. Since the rivets are wrapped around the belt and I don't own a 3D printer at the moment, I had to glue each outer piece on individually and shape them so that you can't see the seam anymore. You can believe me guys, this was a ton of work, but I think the effort was totally worth it in the end. I gave the rivets a metallic look using ribbon buff, one of my favorite finishes by the way, and they are done now. The rivets are evenly spaced all around the belt, so as a math dyslexic, I had to use my last remaining brain cells to figure out this super complicated calculation. But hey, I did it! Thank you, ChatGPT. Let's move on to our last belt. To be honest guys, it's pretty much all the same steps you have already seen here in this video, so I'll spare you the repetitions here too. You know the drill by now. Phew, this is turning into a long one. Time for a bit of sewing, my friends. These red fabric strips are super easy to make. I iron the fabric so it's nice and smooth and easier to work with. Then I cut strips into 6 cm wide and stack them on top of each other to create 2 layers, making everything look a bit more sturdy. Then everything gets sewn together. And I had to do this for a total of 14 strips. Yes, it's easy, but once again, it was a lot of work. To make the strips look old and worn, I sprayed darker paint on them with my airbrush. It's always the best part, making nice fabric look old and dirty, haha. I forgot to film this part, but I used the laser cutter to cut out these nice buttons and painted them again with ribbon buff into a metallic look. Now they get glued onto the end of each stripe. To be able to attach them to something, I sew a loop onto each band with some leftover fabric. That's why you can see slightly different color variations here. I'm just using an old belt I don't need anymore and pulling each strip over it. This is a really simple way to attach things on the armor pieces, so you don't have to overthink everything all the time. We are almost there, guys. Just these 2 fabric flaps left and then we are done. You already know the drill here. Make a template, cut the fabric, iron it and sew both sides together. Now we are going to have some fun. We'll distress the fabric by cutting into it and brushing it with a wire brush. After that, we do some weathering to make the fabric look old and worn, just as we did before. At this point, I noticed that I made the flaps too wide. No big deal. I just added a vertical seam down the middle to shorten them. You won't even see it in the end anyway. To attach the flaps to the belt later, I'm using 2 fabric strips with Velcro sewn on. It's an effective and simple technique I will always recommend to everyone. And here is the final result. I am super happy how it turned out. And I can't wait to see Marvin wearing this costume. But before that, we still have a lot of work ahead of us. There are still the bracers to do and the trouser part. And until this time, let me know what you think of this build. Whew, that was actually a lot of work, my friends. But as you can see, it's behind me. It's finished at last, the upper part and the belt part, and the rest is going to follow in the next few YouTube videos. But for this, I first have to actually finish the costume. And of course, all what we are doing here wouldn't be possible without your support. And if you don't already know it, we started this month Patreon, and a mega huge thank you to our first supporter of our Patreon adventure. And if you want to support us as well, I will put you the link of our Patreon in our video description, only if you want, of course. So if you like this video, please leave a like, a follow, or a comment. Let us know what you think of it. This helps us a lot for the algorithm so that other people can see our video who don't already know us here. And with that, see you next time.